Hi there, my name is Grayson, and do you like having sex? Well, a lot of people do, and some people like to be bound and gagged and slapped and punched and stabbed and yelled at and laughed at and humiliated and shit. This is what we usually refer to as sadomasochism, which is a combination of sadism and masochism. Backwards, sadism, masochism. A sadist is someone who typically takes some form of pleasure in inflicting pain on people, and a masochist is the person who enjoys getting pain inflicted on them from people. Ooh. Sadomasochism here. As you can see, we have a great picture of this guy getting choked with a belt. She's got a diamond. I don't know why. As you can see, I wrote here, sadomasochism is when people receive pleasure from inflicting pain or getting pain inflicted onto them. It's typically seen that this is a way to show a deep connection to your partner, because with this pain, there's more bonding. Kind of, it's this deep attachment. I can go into this more. People who partake in sadomasochism are not to be confused with people who partake in acts of sexual aggression. Instead, what they do is they consensually go up to their partner and they say, "Do you want me to hit you on the butt with this little paddle?" Psh, psh, psh. And they say yes. People are not truly attempting to hurt their partner. It's simply kind of this fantasy that they're living out, in which they're getting this sense of control of their partner, or lack of control, which is what some people want in that case. This is a scene from Solo. That was a f***ed up movie. Basically, Solo is based off of a book written by a man named Marquis de Sade, which we will get into later. He's a funny little French man. This movie is based on one of his works. They just kind of switched around the timeline, moved it into World War II. And basically, it's a bunch of teenagers who get abducted by a bunch of rich dudes, and then they sodomize them. Yeah, you can watch it if you want. I don't recommend it. But yeah, this is a really famous case of demonstrating sadomasochism. And also, in case you didn't get it, Marquis de Sade. Sadism. Ooh, that's cool, ain't it? We're gonna see a connection. By the way, producer Lucas here's monitoring audio. Producer Gabe is monitoring the video. Say hi, boys.
Hello.
Good. There have been 4 clusters of sadomasochism that have been identified. The dominant kind of the need for control and the need to inflict pain is seen as hypermasculinity. It's just seen as the more masculine trait to want to dominate someone. There's the infliction and reception of pain. We've talked about that plenty. There's physical restriction. This is talking about more like, I'll kill you. This is more like BDSM, kind of this tying up. This is those swings. This is people who like to bind and be bound. Like a whip, crack a whip. That's a real whip. That wasn't edited. And psychological humiliation. Some people like to be used like a toilet. Psychological humiliation. Some people just like getting treated like getting bullied. I don't get that. I'd cry. Next slide. So this title doesn't make much sense. Masochism, Kraft Ebing, who was a therapist of that man at the bottom, Leopold von Sacher-Masoch.
No way.
Masochism. Leopold von Sacher-Masoch wrote Venus and Furs, which is a very early example of writing masochism in some kind of erotic literature. Right here, as we can see,
man is the one who desires. Woman is the one who is desired. This is woman's entire but decisive advantage. Through man's passions, nature has given man into woman's hands, and the woman who does not know how to make him her subject, her slave, her toy, and how to betray him with a smile in the end is not wise.
Anyway, that kind of just shows the idea that, men, it's like there's this kind of, when women are aware that they are desired, they will use that to control, the men who desire them, and the men will let it happen for hopes of the approval of a woman, because they're horny bastards. A lot of theories about masochism are actually physically based. For example, there's an idea that when you're getting bound or beat or cut or slapped or smashed, there is, your blood begins to heat up because of this, and it begins to circulate through your body better, and it goes down to your sexual organs, and it makes you aroused, and people are like, "Oh, that's nice. Keep doing that." This guy right here, you know him. He's our good friend, Mr. Sigmund Freud, known as the man who might have had a thing for his mommy. He created a thing called 3 Papers on Sexual Theory in 1905. He observed that both traits are found in the same individual. Everyone has sadism and masochism. He also said that sadomasochism is the most common perversion. It's over here. Most common perversion of all. Everyone has this. Everyone has this. You have this. Dirty little freak. So it's seen as like when people can't handle their partner's emotional baggage, or whatever problems they're having in a relationship, they'll just be like, "Hey, let's have sex and beat the shit out of each other during it, so we can relieve all of our sexual frustration, and so we can love each other right again." Wouldn't you like that, babe? This idea of losing control or giving it up to someone else can really kind of free up this stress they have in life, where it's like, you're like, "Oh, I feel like everything is out of control, so if I deliberately make something out of control, then yeah, it makes me in control and I like it." We are talking about Marquis de Sade now. It's the guy, the man, the myth, the legend. This guy was fucked up in the head. This guy, he was born into a royal family at the young age of 0 in the middle of France, and he was like, he was like royalty. All right, he was some kind of prince or something. I don't know. It doesn't matter. And he was in the army for the king's regiments. He was a high rank because he was born into a rich family. But then he got out in his 20s, and he was like, "Well, what do I do with life?" And just like any other 24-year-old man, he goes, "I'm gonna find prostitutes and beat the shit out of them." And so he started doing that. And then he got arrested. And then he got out of jail. And he said, "I should do that again." But first he got married to a woman. They were having ordinary married relations. And then, as it goes, he's like, "I really miss beating up prostitutes." So he goes out, starts beating up prostitutes. And this time, he comes home with the prostitutes so he and his wife can beat up the prostitutes together. It's this bond. It was beautiful, really. They were bonding over beating up these prostitutes. And they found this love for each other again. Unfortunately, he was once again arrested because that's illegal. And then he got out and he goes, "Man, as much as I love beating prostitutes, what if I did it to kids?" Eventually, finally, the law, 1700s, the law was loose. They were like, "This guy kind of sucks. There's something kind of wrong with him." So anyway, while he was there, he began writing about how much he wanted to beat prostitutes and children. And that's where he created 2 of his most well-known works. He created Justine and the 120 Days of Sodom. The original name's in French. I don't know how to say it. He created these two magnificent stories in which they describe beating and punching and slapping and sexing everyone you could get your hands on. It's really disturbing. And then he died. He was like 80. he died, and he had a bunch of works that they just threw in a fire because they were like, no one needs to see this garbage. In fact, actually, a lot of his works didn't really get published until the early 1900s because society was that not okay with his works being out there that it took 100 years after he died for his stuff to come out. All right, now we're talking about the most modern example I can think of. We are talking about Mr. Bob Flanagan. He's born in the 50s, conservative America. Bob Flanagan, he was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis pretty much right when he was born. He went to making art as this way because he couldn't really do sports, he couldn't really be active, so he went to making art. With that art, though, he was finding that drawing and painting wasn't really cutting it for him. So, in the 1980s, when Bob was at, his early 30s, late 20s, he met this lady named Rose. And Rose was a photographer. I forgot her full name. This is her full name. That's her full name. I don't know her name. Rose, basically was a photographer, but she also was a dominatrix. And Bob said, "Ooh, mama, that's good. I like that." So what they began doing was, while Rose would do her dominatrixing to Bob, they'd video it and photograph it. So one day in 1989, Bob, butt naked, walks out into a New York audience at an art show where he comes with a 2x4 plank, a hammer, and a pack of nails. What does Bob do with this? Bob begins to sing a lovely little ditty, "If I had a hammer, da 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 da." Begins to nail his scrotum and tip of his penis onto, pan that back up. He begins to nail his penis and scrotum. He nails the head of his penis and scrotum to a 2x4 board. He did this. And not only this, he did it twice. He got some more fame for being featured in the lovely 9 Inch Nails music video for Happiness and Slavery. Great song, great band, love Trent Reznor. But this music video brought some attention to Bob Flanagan in 1992, which just so happened to be his final years. A documentary began filming called Sick, The Life and Death of Bob Flanagan, where they just kind of followed him around for a year, maybe 2 years. And it was kind of just him succumbing to his illness. Of course, you can find this film on the internet. It shows all of it. He was kind of seen as a really inspirational person, almost. He was fighting this physical illness he had with, something that gave him control, something that gave him his purpose of life. And as weird as it seems, it doesn't really matter if it's not you. So, it's strange, but he found what he wanted in life, and people grabbed onto that. They realized that he wasn't hurting anyone else, just himself, and he was going to die anyway, so he figured, why not? So, overall, idea is that, sadomasochism, it's in everyone. Everyone has degrees. Do you let it out? Who knows? Who knows what you do with it? But, don't judge people for these things. If people aren't hurting other people, Marquis de Sade, judge him. He's an asshole. He diddled kids. But if the people if people partake in this stuff, who cares? It's what you do. It's hard world. We're coping. Whatever, however we can. Peace.